My name is Brett Hebert. This is Mike Vanamburg and Ryan Grace. We are here to present to you why it's important to know the differences of oral and nonverbal communication in cross-cultural environments. Basically, the what to do's and what not to do's when you're conducting business in other environments. That way, you don't offend anyone and you can conduct your business successfully outside of your own country. What is verbal and nonverbal communication? Verbal communication is your speech. The sharing of information between individuals by using speech, your physical voice, what you hear, and what you say. Nonverbal communication, behavioral elements of speech aside from the words themselves that transmit meaning. So your body language, your facial expressions, hand gestures, all of that. Touch, that you're actually not speaking. And when you are doing this, you have to know your environment. You have to know the environment you are in to know what is proper communication to use. It is important to know what verbal and nonverbal communication is acceptable. That way you don't offend anyone while you're conducting business. You cannot assume that every country will accept the same things that you do. You do not want to offend the host or business partner from a different culture. That wouldn't be very good for your business. I don't think, you probably wouldn't have any business after that, after you offend someone in another culture. It's probably the end of that right there.
So I'm going to kind of start off with verbal communication, kind of the do's and don'ts. And one of the things you really want to do is you want to ask questions, kind of better understand the person and their environment that you're in. Because most times, you go to a different country, you're not really going to understand how things go there. So avoid asking confusing questions. For example, like a question you can ask here, like could be a simple like yes, no answer, but there they might not really understand what you're saying, and you might not get the answer you're looking for. And ask open-ended questions to kind of get more information, to kind of get a better understanding of everything. And to kind of go with that, you want to pay close attention to what your counterpart's doing, like your host. You want to so you kind of see what are the do's and don'ts of that environment, because you don't want to offend anybody, especially if it's a business partner. You want to keep that business going so you can thrive and get the deal done. Another thing you want to do is kind of to go with everything. Is you want to choose your words carefully, as you can easily offend someone in a different culture if you don't know what's the do's and don'ts over there. That's why one thing you want to do is kind of avoid words that have different meanings for different. For example, as soon as possible. Well, in America that kind of means maybe next day, but if you're in Japan, as soon as possible might be next week. You just don't know. That's why you want to try and avoid meetings like that. Definitely avoid slang words because it's unprofessional to use them in the first place. And then another thing is you want to kind of avoid idioms like piece of cake or pull my leg. They might actually think you literally mean a piece of cake and start looking around where's the cake at. And one of the very important things is be careful with jokes, as something that is funny here could be taken very offensive in their host country, and that could really hurt your friendship or definitely a business deal if that's what you're over there for. And you definitely do not need to shout. This will not help them to understand you at all. So talk with a calm tone. There's no need to shout because they're going to have a better understanding if you talk calmly to them.
Good example, Michael.
And to kind of start off with nonverbal communication. For example, eye contact here in America and Canada, eye contact is very important. It shows that you're listening and you're focused on the conversation. But for in a country like in Asia or the Middle East, it is taken offensively. As you staring at somebody, they may be like, this person, why are they staring at me nonstop? So you want to try and avoid that when you're over in countries like that. Another thing, gestures are a really big thing. As thumbs up here means good job or okay. We're in a Latin American country, thumbs up is not good, and you definitely do not want to do that gesture there.
Alright, you guys, my name's Ryan. I'm going to take over the rest of the nonverbal communication here. As we can see, just like with certain things like thumbs up and stuff, a lot of things can be taken offensive, especially nonverbally, so it's crucial to understand different nonverbal cues in other countries compared to somewhere like here in America where a lot of different things are taken into account. So another thing that we do different here, Americans like to have personal space. But other countries are a little bit different when it comes to touching and feeling. So it's taken differently around the world. In most Western countries like America and many other countries, Britain, it's acceptable to shake hands. It's something that everybody does. But in certain countries like Asian cultures, it's still seen as a little bit far out. So they might still bow or avoid the handshake completely and show a different show of respect. So another thing, maybe in different cultures like Middle Eastern, it's shown as bad character. If you touch somebody of a different gender, it's actually shown as disrespectful, that you're disrespecting another man's wife or vice versa. So that should be something that's always taken into account if you're going into the Middle East for any kind of business. And again, we go back to people in Asia, they're very conservative when it comes to nonverbal gestures. You see kind of, we'll see in this next slide. But you see that they're very conservative in their gestures. A lot of them they don't use their hands to talk. They kind of keep their hands together. They don't cross their legs, and they don't really use very many facial expressions while they're doing active listening. And just another quick example. We actually passed it up. You want to go back? This is just a quick example of touching and nonverbal communication. Here is the Queen getting hugged by former First Lady Michelle Obama. In this situation, Michelle is not quite up to date on nonverbal cues and protocols in the English hierarchy. So we see here, it's actually an invasion of personal space by Michelle. She has no idea that royal protocol actually prefers that we don't hug or touch the Queen. It's better to shake hands. But we see a little bit of a mistake here by the former First Lady. And then again, we go back to body movement. We go back to body movement. It's different in every culture. For example, like I said before, sitting cross-legged in some cultures are pointing your feet at somebody else is seen as extremely disrespectful. So you want to try and make sure that you keep your feet flat-footed, stand very firm. Another thing is sitting far away, or as you see close here, can kind of convey your confidence and how you feel about the situation, your control over the situation. And again, we see it here, another nonverbal communication while she's using her hands, but you see how close they are together. We see, again, back to how certain Asian cultures are. He uses his hands, he's very conservative, his feet are flat on the floor, and he's doing a pretty good job of active listening without, giving away his tells with facial expressions, which we see here. He's keeping a very vanilla expression. He's not trying to, give away too much information, or he's not trying to make a parody of the entire situation. So he does a really good job here of listening, being respectful, and using his space and using their space to convey power and control. So that's pretty much going to do it in conclusion. It's extremely important to understand verbal and nonverbal cues. Communication overall is the main thing we use to communicate around the world. So it's crucial that you understand what is respectful and what is disrespectful in your country may be completely opposite from another country. And so whether you're at home or visiting another country, keep these values in mind. They can definitely take you to the next step and help your business grow to a point that you didn't think you could. So thank you, appreciate you.
Thank you.